That song, I think it's probably up there, was written by Janice Ian. You all remember Janice Ian? I learned the truth at 17. And she sent it out to the whole world to record. So when it was sent to me to listen to, I never heard her sing it, but I heard about 30 other stars sing it. So there are all these versions of this song. And by the time, every time I finished one, I went, oh wait, I have to hear how she does it. Oh, I have to hear how he does it. I literally was like immersed in this song for like a half an hour, listening to all these different versions, knowing that we had to do it here, and it's being done in Palm Desert as well. And the lyrics, they're very interesting. Better times will come. So let me ask you, do you believe that? Thank you. They are here. Yes. So the lyric doesn't necessarily jive with what I believe. The song does. And the hopefulness of the song, which is what it's really about, it would be better served by people who didn't understand that the better times exist at all times. But it's going to give them a next jolt into believing that the better times will come. And that's just that little bridge that we need to take sometimes to get from wherever we are to where we know we can be. So, better times will come. So I asked myself, is this true? Is it true that better times will come? Well, yes and no, I guess. Better times will come if I make them, if I create them. And better times won't come if I just hold on to everything I've had up to this point and keep looking at the stuff that doesn't work. I can take that to my grave. Anybody else? We can take all of that to the last day of our life and still not get the message. Or we can learn the truth from the very beginning. So I asked myself to look at this question or this statement. Life will never be any better than it is right now. Life will never be any better than it is right now. True or false? Okay, we have falses and trues. Okay, life will never be any better than it is right now. Now let me ask you this one. I'm going to change it a little bit. Your life will never be any better than it is right now. True or false? Yell it out. Okay, so we have a very mixed audience. That's good. So the title of my talk today is Good as It Gets. I'm going to get back to those questions, by the way. Good as it gets. So if you look up on this at this picture, her name is Dilys, spelled D-I-L-Y-S, Dilys Price. This is an 86-year-old skydiver. She is the oldest solo skydiver in the world, in history. That's her at 86 jumping out of a plane by herself. For those of you that did it last time and you were attached to someone, right? You all were attached, right? You weren't? You were solo? Oh, I'm so glad I was sick that weekend. So she's doing the same thing you guys did. Like, they're both like, no, we were wrong. So there she is, Dilys Price, 86-year-old. But not only that, this woman actually became a fashion model at 86. So she's the oldest living, historical really, solo skydiver, and she is the oldest living fashion model. And if you would, give me that next thing of her. There she is. Her quote is, "I stand for doing what you want and not being afraid." Steve Rayband did a beautiful meditation this morning with a great quote by Helen Keller. And what was the last line in that quote? Take your time. Oh, you put it somewhere. And I sort of know it, but I know you have the perfect one, and I don't want to paraphrase Helen Keller. What's the last line?
Life is either a daring adventure
Life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. Which will you have? I would hope so. Or a little bit of nothing, a little bit of daring adventure. No, 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 no. So, Dilys Price. So when I look at better times will come, the idea, I'm saying at some point it's going to be better than this. But the truth is, let me go back to these questions now. Life will never be any better than it is right now, true or false. Of course, you got the right answer. The reason why that's true, life will never be any better than it is right now, is because all that life is exists right now, perfectly. This quantum field of pure creative energy exists right now, undeterred, and it doesn't care how much we've screwed around with it. It is. Life is as full, as passionate, as successful, as expansive today as it has ever been, and it will never change. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So this thing we call God, this creative energy, this consciousness, will never be any better than it is right now, because it can't get better. What's beyond perfection? It already is perfect. More perfection. Thank you, Jose. It was rhetorical, but thanks for answering. So the other one is, my life will never be any better than it is right now. Well, frankly, that has to be false. It has to be false, unless you've decided that right where you are is as good as it gets. Unless you've decided that where you are now in your life is as good as it gets, and your life can't get any better than that, you have just created the box you live in, you've just created the philosophy you live by, and you're not going any further, because you get to decide that. So these two questions are very easy. It's true that it's as good as it gets right now, and it's false that it can't be better, because it can. Only in the experiential of it. You can make your life a better life. You can live a better day, right? You will be able to create something beyond what you're already creating, only because the first answer is true, because it's as good as it gets. The thing is, we forget it, because what we end up doing, and this conversation I had the other day with this person was very challenging, because this person was really, knuckled down in this idea that this thing that has happened to us has destroyed our life as we know it. And until this is eradicated, we can't get on with it. Really? Well, frankly, I think a lot of people are feeling this. There's so much fear around it, so much. But when I heard Steve this morning read that quote, daring adventure or nothing. Nowhere in that sentence does it say, but if something comes along that's really upsetting, just sit down and wait it out. We are not here to wait out a pandemic. I am not here to wait out a pandemic. Anybody? I'm not here to wait out anything anymore. I'll wear a mask. I'm triple boosted. Well, triple vaccinated, one boosted. But I'm about living the adventure. And that's why I picked adventure for this month. So that we start getting back into the adventure of living life to the fullest, no matter what. That's our message this month. So Ernest Holmes said this: the universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. Now, I want you to look at this. It is the potential ultimate of all things. But what we understand now is that universal mind, this one infinite mind, is my mind. It's Brad's mind. It's everyone's mind, right? So to it, all things are possible. Again, I don't think it says all things are possible except during a pandemic, except during this, except when this happens. All things are possible no matter what. So the adventure this month, while I want you to do amazing adventures, and Karen and Brad are going to go off and have an amazing adventure in the snow, as Karen keeps reminding us. I want everybody to go off and do amazing things this month. Have great adventures. But the most important adventure you are ever going to take, as Steve said this morning, is the adventure into your mind. As Brad said, the adventure of finding out what's in here. Who am I? And if I'm someone who goes around being afraid of things, that's okay, because that might be who you are right now. But your future is not predicated on what you believe about yourself right now. Your future is predicated on the truth of who you are. And your beliefs just need to catch up. They just need to catch up with who you are, with who you truly are. So, you see up on that picture, there's a man walking a tightrope. This week during Spirit Breath, how many people were in the tightrope Spirit Breath? Great. So this week during Spirit Breath, I did a visualization, which we usually do during Spirit Breath. After we're done our initial breathing, we go into some form of physical movement. And I had everybody walk a tightrope. And what's great for me is, as the facilitator of Spirit Breath, and by the way, anybody can join Spirit Breath. Go to the website, click on classes, click on Spirit Breath. Oh, look at that. How did you do that? I didn't tell you I was going to say this. That's hysterical. And you can just join. It'll take you right to the Zoom room, 9 a.m., Monday through Friday. So I'm sitting there, and I knew that our theme of the day was balancing the good. And here's the thing. That's what life is about, balancing the good. Not balancing the good and the bad. Not balancing the positive and the negative. Not balancing the good. If it's all good, and I see it as all good, I just need to balance the good in my world. So that was the theme, and they're going through their Spirit Breath, and out of nowhere, I got this idea to go to do a tightrope. And so I took them on a tightrope experience. So as I'm sitting watching, I think there were 26 people on this morning. I'm watching the screen. Their eyes are closed, but I am watching 26 people on a tightrope, on tightropes. Their heads are floating. Some of them I couldn't see because some of them lay down. But their heads are moving, and their arms came up because I reminded them their arms help you balance. It was so fascinating watching everyone rise above the effects of the world and get on a tightrope and balance themselves and balance all the good that there is in this world. Now, most of you do know, I think, that I am a tightrope walker, that I did it for years. I haven't done it in a long time, but it's making me start to really be interested in doing it again. But the concept here is, are you absolutely willing to balance the good in your life? To see your life as only good. Only good. Even the challenges. Do you know what it's like to approach a challenge from the consciousness of good? It's very different than approaching it from the consciousness of victimhood, or that something's being done to me, even when it is. I mean, I love that in the Four Agreements when Don Miguel Ruiz says, if someone walks into a 7-Eleven and shoots you, don't take it personally. I mean, that's in his book. And I remember when I first read it, when I wasn't even a practitioner, I was like, oh, right, sure, yeah, come in and shoot me. I'm like, not a problem. Please call a doctor. No, but I get it now, 20 some odd years later. I get it. Are we willing, behind the experience, thank you, Thor, is good, no matter what. Every experience you are having, behind the experience is good, no matter what. So this month of adventure is an adventure. Can you possibly see everything in your life as good? It's a question. Can you work at it? Can you take your mind and make the powerful use of it, of seeing everything as good, even the things that you don't necessarily consider good in experiential terms? You can look at it and say, behind all of this is a good, and I refuse to live anywhere else, period. That's an adventure. Do you know what it would be like to be happy all the time? This is what I'm seeing. Do you know, because you all have masks on, do you know, some of you are probably smiling, who would know? Do you know what it would be like to be happy all the time? I mean, really happy all the time. I think that can happen. And I'm not saying happy, jubilant, when someone passes away, of course there is a sadness, there's an emptiness, there's a hole. But we were talking about, one of my classes this week, I gave people five wishes, thank you, Karen, 5 wishes. I said, write down the 5 things. If you knew all you had to do was decide, that this would happen. Write down the 5 wishes for your life. And then I watched them all do it on screen, but I was thinking to myself, would I wish for Nora to come back? Would I wish for that day to have never happened? And you know, the selfish father in me says yes. I would go back. If I had a wish, I'd go back to that day and not let her leave the house. But the spiritual person knows that was her journey. How dare I say, no, your journey was not right because it hurt me. That was her journey. And wherever she moved on beyond that, that's her journey. So when it comes to this idea of behind the experience is good, no matter what, I think we can be joy-filled. We can be happy. We can be solid in knowing who we are. That's the adventure. That, to me, is the greatest adventure there is. And Ernest Holmes says that, too. It takes mental action to remember that you are living in a world of good, that life could not get any better than it is right now. Now go make it so in your life. Go live it to such an extent that your life has to get better because you are the ever-expanding energy of God. That's who you are. So this next quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, he says, your genuine action will explain itself and will explain your other genuine actions. Your conformity explains nothing. Just read that. Look at that again. Your genuine action will explain itself and will explain your other genuine actions. Your conformity explains nothing. There is an authentic, genuine you inside there that's ready to take you to the Himalayas, or ready to get you to jump out of a plane, or even just ready to get you to listen to the universal tones of excitement and passion and creativity, guiding you, leading you, pushing you. Don't you ever feel sometimes like the universe is actually literally pushing you? Yeah, it's called a divine nudge. Never underestimate divine guidance emerging. It's that nudge that's saying go. So, your genuine action will explain itself. We can't explain some of the things we do. Sometimes we just do them, right? But they explain why we're doing them as you're doing them. And I love this. Conformity explains nothing. Sitting at home, fearful, worried, holding on. Whenever somebody says to me, I say, how are you doing that? Oh, I'm holding on. I'm saying that, let go. But I do. I say that every time, no matter who says it to me. I'm hanging in there. Don't. Let go. Because conformity explains nothing. I love that quote of Ralph Waldo Emerson's. I can't learn anything if I stay home. I can't learn anything if I'm afraid to go out and find myself, or if I'm afraid to go in and find myself. I asked two people this week if they would write songs for next month. And both of them, well, one said yes instantly. And the other one said, can I get back to you? And about an hour later, called me back and said, of course, why did I even think about this? Yes, so we have 2 original songs next month by Stan Galperson and Craig Lincoln. So we're going to have a really fun month, not Adventure Month, the next month, which I'm not giving away, the theme. So what's yours to do? What adventure is waiting for you? I mean, I'm looking at these two here, Scott and Jose. They've been members of this center since almost the beginning. These two guys, I never know where they are in the world because they're always traveling somewhere, doing something amazing, building schools and just doing all the great stuff they do. Well, it also helps that Jose is what do we call them now? Stewardess. Not a stewardess, a flight attendant. That doesn't hurt, yes. So what do you want to do this month? Better times are not going to come until you make them, Lisa Carey. And I know you're making them. That's when the better times will come. So I'm okay singing, better times will come. Yeah, they will, because I'm in it to win it, to be it, to allow it, to surrender to it. So I want you to look at this next slide. Henry Fonda. When Henry Ford decided to produce his famous V8 motor, he chose to build an engine with the entire 8 cylinders cast in one block and instructed his engineers to produce a design for the engine. The design was placed on paper, but the engineers agreed to a man that it was simply impossible to cast an 8-cylinder engine block in one piece. He replied, "Produce it anyway." So how many of you are ready to say, "Produce it anyway," to yourself, to your life? Yep, me too. I mean, that is where we need to go. We need to stop giving ourselves all the yeah buts, all the reasons why. Well, I didn't really finish college, so I don't know if I could ever apply for that job. Well, I didn't really blah, blah, blah. All the ridiculous excuses you give yourself. Your age. I would like to think that since we started this talk with an 86-year-old skydiver, age cannot come into play for you at this point. I expect everyone to jump out of a plane as soon as possible. I'm kidding. No, my hands sweat even thinking of that. I have other adventures I can take. But really, age cannot. And I know there are those here, there are people here in their 30s, there are people here in their teens, there are people here in their 40s, their 20s, their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't think anybody in their 90s today? Josephine's watching from home. So it's just not an excuse. Your body's not an excuse either. It really isn't. Your body will do what your mind tells it to do. Start telling it healthy things. You want the adventure of your body? Start talking to your body. Start seeing yourself as healthy, because your body only responds to what you see it as. One of the great things about BODS, my program, Being Our Dynamic Selves, is when women and men suddenly start seeing themselves for who they know themselves to be, and I literally watch the weight fall off, if that's why they're there, to lose it. Reverend Liza, basically, that's how she lost all that weight. She said to herself, "I'm done seeing myself as overweight." She said, even when I was losing weight, even when I was dieting, I would say to myself, "Yeah, but you're going to put it back on." She goes, "Oh my God, I was like defeating myself every step of the way." It's about what you see in your mind, what you're equal to. So, as good as it gets, it is. Right now, it's as good as it gets. The question is, are you willing to use this philosophy, to use this teaching, to stop using the world of agreed upon problems and stop listening to this collective consciousness that teaches one thing and start living from what we teach, what you know, what you believe? That it is as good as it gets right now, because God is perfect. The infinite expanse of the universe is perfect. My mind is perfect. And when I remember who I am, better times will come, and they are starting right now. Namaste. Thank you.